All right, and I want us to take the conversation to what happened on Monday last week that we saw the census results of 2019 released, and some of the leaders, especially from the north, he comes from Mandera County, have not been very happy in as far as those numbers are concerned. But there's something that has been brewing. Mandera County is said to have lost 158,000 since 2009, but we have some graphics that show what happened in the year 2009. This is, there were 8 contentious districts. Mandera Central, for instance, had registered 417,000 in terms of the population that was enumerated, but the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics raised questions about 286,000. Mandera East had registered 288,000. There were questions on 178,000. Then Mandera West had 399 as enumerated, 319,000, but there was suspicion over 212,000 people.
These are the other districts still that people are not confident about the numbers, Lagdera rather. The census results show about 245,123. The suspicious number are about 37,000. If you come to Wajir East, you will see it's 224,000, but the suspicious number is 70,000.
All right, so Lagdera is in Garissa County, Wajir East is in Wajir County. Then there were situations in Turkana Central, Turkana North, Turkana South. You can see the numbers that they enumerated more people than was the real situation. And therefore, I'm asking the question, could it be that because of these errors, because ultimately the results of 38.6 million in 2009 were revised to 37.7 million. Could it be that the digital census has caught up with the fake numbers that would appear happened in 2009?
Sammy, I totally disagree, because what is happening that if 2009 that there was purported to be an error in the census from that region, the government has the capacity to be able to unpack and say, listen, this is why the reason why we're disputing these numbers is because of this and this and this. They should be able to say, because they have a raw data, they have that has been transmitted from the region, and be able to say, listen, these are the things, the numbers that we think that has not been genuine, and therefore it is now up to the constituents or the people from that region and the government to be able to prove that whatever the numbers have been alleged is true or false. Now coming to this one, the current situation, so what they have done is, the biggest mistake they have done is they let go without answering why those figures are there, because they have not able to unpack and say, this is why it is happening that. Coming back to the current situation, I can be able to say from the north, what the government did is actually, I can be able to say, it's a joke. It's not something that sellable to, let alone even the people from that region, to the Kenyan itself, because when you come up, for instance, and say that a place like Mandera, that there is a zero growth.
Actually, there's a decline.
Yeah, there is a decline. And then they say that they have basically had a 15% the population will decline by 15%. Then the normal government or other part of that, what they have done immediately, they should have done, immediately create the task force to be able to find out what happened to these populations. Is there any disease epidemic that has happened that affected these people, that 100 and that numbers have died? Has it basically they have migrated to another country? And if they yes, why? How do they basically why have they been able do that? And there are so many questions they will be able to say. Right now, everything is digital. They are supposed to say, from what we have, we feel that these numbers or these data is fake because of A, B, C, D, and that. In the absence of that, is simply what we are seeing is that there is can be able to say that there is, the government has came up with another scheme of trying to marginalize the area. And there is some kind of a scheme that the population, the area, and be able to know to give the right figure.
Why do you think the government is doing so?
It's simply because they want, maybe the intention is they have never accepted that these people from this part of the country is actually they have an equal right, they're part of this country, and therefore they enjoy the same right. One of the things, that is it. That's why we keep on being marginalized. The other things why it is not simply happening is because they have other ideas, and therefore could be that they wanted to already reduce the number of seats. Remember, from this region, they already have a figure, and they want to achieve that, and therefore that's why they're doing it.
All right.
Other figures can be also available, because in the absence of that explanation, and I'm happy last week the boss of Kenya Bureau of
National Bureau of Statistics.
National Statistics basically came up and said they have not even scrutinized the data, and therefore they have not done that, and they have not truly gone through and be able to come up. So that is itself is
let me cut you short on that. Honorable Ishungwa, do you believe that whatever he's alleging is true, and would you vote for the credibility of the census 2019?
I think largely, if you ask me, the 2019 census is more credible than the 2009 census. Maybe some of the questions Mr. Isaac is asking here on whether there was an epidemic in the north or somewhere, some of the constituencies in the north, would be answered by the problems that bedeviled the 2009 census. The 2009 census, remember, a number of leaders from the north had to go to court to protect the numbers that apparently were enumerated that time. But I think this 2019 census has been more credible than the 2019 census.
Right.
The use of biometrics, I think, again, has cut out a lot of cheating. And I wish Governor Oparanya, who was then the Minister for Planning, was seated here, because he has a lot of questions to answer as regards what happened in 2009. And those who were in power then, together with the former Prime Minister who had appointed Governor Oparanya then as Minister.
Though the former minister actually recommended the cancellation of the results, but that was quashed by the courts.
That's what I'm telling you. There is something that was being protected by people going to court, and the credibility of the 2009 census was more questionable than this one. I think this one is a little bit more credible. But push that conversation further to the scandal that is Huduma number. Where are the Huduma number numbers? Because if we had a comparative figure to compare to them, we would be...
I don't know if this information helps you, but the last time we asked the government spokesperson that question, he said that 37.7 million Kenyans registered for the Huduma number, but so far there's nothing they can do with that data.
So you would be,
because there's a court order.
You'd be telling me, Gituku, that 37.7 million Kenyans registered. You would be able to offer me a comparative number that in Mandera East constituency or Lagdera that you are raising questions on.
Right.
These are the numbers that registered on Huduma, or that we captured under Huduma number, and this is what was enumerated under the 2019 census. But I will tell you, without flinching an eyelid, Huduma number was and remains the biggest scandal that nobody is speaking about.
How so?
I'll tell you, you dig, you have investigative journalists.
No. You made that allegation. How so is it a scandal?
Tell them to dig the numbers and ask that government spokesperson. Don't even ask the government spokesperson. Go and ask the Ministry of Interior.
What are you basing your knowledge on?
What we have heard about the numbers of the Huduma number.
So they're just rumors then?
And I am just like these are rumors. But I'm not saying. I'm saying if, and I use if the Huduma numbers do exist, I think they should be released to Kenyans, just like the census numbers were released. Show us this is what we enumerated in constituency A, B, C, D, and we have comparative figures that then our brothers in the north... I'm
still stuck at the point. You said that they're scandalous. How exactly? And don't tell me to go dig, because you made that allegation.
I will not disclose that information here, but I'm telling you it will turn out to be the biggest scandals of this regime from last year to now. Lastly, my last point on the census. I saw a tweet yesterday by somebody asking what he called Nairobians with a small n in quotes, tweeting from Kinoo and Ruaka, questioning the numbers of Kiambu County. And I think it was just being sarcastic that the Nairobians in quotes tweeting from Kinoo, those are people who live in Kiambu, and those Nairobians in quotes in Ruaka, that's also Kiambu. And to a large extent, even the leaders from the north that you see questioning these numbers, and I would probably ask Isaac here where he was enumerated from, you will find out that most of them were actually enumerated, if not in Kiambu, in Nairobi. And this census, I think, because people either were not enlightened by their leaders to go back and be enumerated in their home areas, or Kenyans were simply not willing.
But they were told that you can get enumerated from wherever you are.
People were enumerated from where they work from. That is why you'll see the numbers of
because
Nairobi,
we were told there's no need to travel.
Yes.
We were told there's no need to travel. Senator, where do you stand on this census credibility?
You should be enumerated where you live.
Senator, what do you think on this census credibility?
Some of us went on record saying that because you had invested in what we call the IPPD, which was an electronic register of births and deaths and IDs and passports, etc., it would have been possible to, first of all, get a preliminary view of the numbers in this republic before we went into Huduma number. Now, Huduma number, Mheshimiwa Ichung'wah also has a duty to tell Kenyans, as the chair of the budget committee, how much money they allocated to the exercise, because you cannot call it a scandal when he's a gatekeeper. Now, moving away from Huduma number.
I can tell you not a coin was allocated by the Budget and Appropriations Committee initially. It is something that was done.
Well, so you need to ask for the supplementary
post-approval. That I can tell you.
Yeah. So he's a gatekeeper as a chair of the budget committee. But let's go to the numbers that were released last week. Why are numbers important? And someone commented that so far it's only politicians commenting on numbers. And they're commenting on the numbers from the perspective of votes. They're just looking at votes. You remember that
is that meme, why counting people is controversial?
That was going round where they're saying the way politicians look at us, and there's a politician and then there are cows down there. Now, you know, it's really unfortunate that we politicians, we are looking at these numbers from the perspective of votes. Now, when you ask even my brothers from northern Kenya, why do they have a problem with these numbers? You'll get arguments, and I've seen an argument from my very good friend, Professor Lonyangapuo. He's saying that the numbers are not credible because he knows that the women in West Pokot give birth more than any other woman. Surely, who's got evidence of that? The reality, if you look at the middle class family, look around this table, probably for those who are married, Ichung'wah and I, probably have 2 children, maximum 3 children, when our parents had 8 children and our grandparents had 15 children. So it's a reality that family sizes are shrinking.
Yes, they are.
Beyond votes, the other important consideration that these numbers will go into is resource allocation at the county level. And you might need to link this. We are going into the review of the third generation formula. And in the next 1-2 months, it's coming to the Senate.
Right.
The CRA has proposed that we change our perspective from population, poverty, land mass, to other qualitative measures, which I think is proper. We have seen situations where counties like Turkana is getting 11 billion Kenya shillings. Why? Because of its vast land size. But how many people live there? It results in a per capita allocation for Turkana which could be almost 100,000 per head, as opposed to Kiambu, where the per capita allocation becomes something like 30,000. Are we delivering services to people or to land?
Someone will still argue, Senator, that at the end of the day, you can compare the infrastructure in Kiambu and that of Turkana.
And that is why we set up the Equalization Fund. And that should be the argument. Let us activate the Equalization Fund to take care of historical injustices. So my view, if you ask me whether I find the data credible, I cannot render an opinion until we see the detailed analysis, because what the KNBS released was a redacted version. We don't even have data on ethnicity. We don't have data on
rural and urban migration.
We don't have others. They ask so many questions. What we know now are the numbers by county, by gender. And intersex. That's all.
I need us to exit from this topic because we need to take a short break, even as we wait to take a look at the feedback, what you've been saying on 2242 as well as at Citizen TV Kenya. What is that feedback? This is Bet Edwin. You say that with the rants and exchange of words and even cups between Tagatanga and ODM early before the release of BBI report, chances are that neither of these factions can agree on anything with the other side. Battle lines have been drawn. What does it mean for the handshake?
Okay. Still on Twitter, use the hashtag Daybreak. Andrew, good morning. You say with the current anxiety on the BBI report, it is evident that it does not have the interests of the common mwananchi. We must foresee the ripple effect of any agenda presented to us.
All right. So on SMS line, that is 22422, what are Kenyans saying? So this is comment from Eldred. It is unfortunate that political leaders in this country have chosen to be reactionary to every issue affecting ordinary citizens. From exam results, census results, and even famine, many of our politicians didn't rally their constituents to take the census seriously and are now crying foul. It is failed leadership on their part. They should allow KNBS to complete its analysis and reports. Cheap politics will not take them far this time round. I wish you had more time to talk about that conversation, but it continues.